Hi everyone, it's Az here from HeelvsBabyface by popular demand. True story. People all over the place have been asking me to review The Mandalorian. Probably based off my Batwoman reviews. And also maybe we can find the yang to the ying that is that atrocious program on the CW. And when I first heard about The Mandalorian, obviously, I was lukewarm because of what was going on with the Star Wars franchise. I personally thought I liked The Force Awakens. I did. I liked it. I thought it was a nice little reboot of the Star Wars franchise. But The Last Jedi I thought was a mitigated garbage. Absolute garbage. And it killed off any joy and excitement I really had for the Star Wars franchise. Truly, I don't think I'm going to go to the cinema to see episode 9. I really don't. I have zero interest. I know people are saying, yeah, but I want to see how it ends. I don't. I don't care. I don't care how this ends anymore. I give no tosses about any of the characters whatsoever. Not after killing off Han. Well, you know, spoilers if you don't know, but get with the times, people. Killing off Luke. The way they treat Luke in The Last Jedi. Of course, Carrie Fisher passing away in real life. I just got no interest in this series anymore. The characters, Rey and Finn and all that, they're all blank slates. They're just wood. Do I care if Kylo beats Rey or Rey beats Kylo? No. Do I care that the woman who can't get defeated, who easily defeats the villain in every episode so far, beats them again? No! I couldn't give a rat's behind. But, for fear of going slightly off course, when they released the first major trailer for The Mandalorian, which wasn't too long ago, I liked the look of it. I was like, you know, this actually is starting to look really good. No interest in episode 9, but maybe this. An ongoing series where they can hopefully develop characters a lot better. This will pique my interest. So I watched it. And before I go into the details, I think this episode, which goes on for approximately 40 minutes runtime, is an episode of two halves. The first 20 minutes or so I thought were excellent. Absolutely excellent. And I'll go into the reasons why. And the second half of the episode wasn't bad, but I thought it had pacing issues. It had comedy issues. It had script issues. But it had a nice little ending, which makes me go, oh, you know, I'm looking forward to episode 2. And for a first episode, it's not bad at all. It's really not bad at all. So let's go into all the reasons why I think the way that I do. So first things first, we're greeted by some really nice shots. I mean, just cinematography-wise, some really nice shots of the Mandalorian arriving on an ice-ish planet, Hoth-esque type of planet, and the CGI is excellent, you know, because obviously this stuff in the distance doesn't truly exist. And I think the costume looks great. I like Pedro Pascal. And one thing that I really appreciated about this episode is how he Judge Dreads it. I'm pretty sure throughout the series we're going to get a face reveal of him. But for the first episode, no mask off. Kudos. Kudos for that. And in fact, one of the reasons why I really like the first 20 minutes is because he barely speaks. And that isn't detrimental to Pedro Pascal, because like I said, I do actually really like him. He's so charismatic, obviously, in Game of Thrones. But the fact that the character itself only needed to speak when it had to speak. You know, there wasn't any wasted words. It wasn't, the screen needs to have something going on, so we're going to fill it with some noise. No. They allowed that for other characters, and, you know, when the situation demanded it, just a bit of quiet. Sometimes less is more, and it worked in this instance. So he arrives at a cantina. All the CGI, I think, in this episode is excellent. The monsters, the creatures, we've got some puppet work in there. We've got some CGI work in there. This is a bit of puppetry. And it all looks very good. And we think, to start with, he's doing a kind of Good Samaritan thing. He arrives at this cantina. Some people, this guy and the other guy that we just saw, Tentacle Face, harassing this alien, saying that, oh, we'll cut their glands out, it'll get us some money. And Pedro goes to the bar to get himself a drink. And then intervenes in the situation. So he defeats the two people. They start on him. They have a bit of a scrap. It's a good fight and quite violent in the scale of Star Wars, because Squidface tries to run away and he fires like a grappling hook onto Squidface, pulls him back into the doorway, and the door closes and splits him in two. Now, you don't see that happening, but you do see kind of like half of the body fall down. It's very cleverly done. So it's hinting at something horrendous without showing it for the kids, if you get where I'm coming from. And whereas it looks like he's a good Samaritan and saving this person from getting their glands cut out, this is actually his bounty. And he hasn't said a word so far, and he just puts this bounty chip or whatever it is down here, and then the guy's just like, balls type of business. I'm been got. So he takes him back to his ship. He doesn't want anything to do with droids, so he gets a taxi that's human driven. Why? Because I think it's probably got something to do with recording. You know, record passengers who got on, all that kind of stuff, and discretion is the key when you're a bounty hunter. And he gets taken to a ship. A big creature bursts out of the ground, and they try and take off. But look at the production value looks really good. And seeing lots of close-ups of the outfit, it does look lovely. I do like the look of this. I do like the look of this a lot. So a creature attaches itself, like a huge, massive, Rorus creature attaches itself to the ship, but he uses some sort of like electrical pole to get rid. And again, all the CGI, very nicely done. Very nicely done for TV. This even looks potentially like model work. I imagine it's CGI, but it kind of almost looks like model work, which is rather cool. And he zips back into space, and his bounty thinks he's cleverer, a little bit cleverer than the Mandalorian. He's looking for a way off. Can I use the toilet? Looking sort of for a way off the ship. Maybe an escape pod, something along those lines. And then unfortunately for him, happens to come across lots of carbonite. And then the Mandalorian is behind him to make sure he goes into his. So that's like the first 10 minutes of the show. And I just thought, this is great. This is really great stuff. This is Pedro Pascal hasn't said a single word. Well, he said like maybe one or two words, and that's all he's needed to say. And then he's allowed the other creature to do the narrative to keep it going along, and he's just acted like the cool bounty hunter that people associate Boba Fett as. So it all worked. First 10 minutes. Almost perfect. You know, I'd give it a 10 out of 10 for the first 10 minutes of the show. We then get... he arrives at, whatever destination he's at. Again, business is being conducted in cantinas and stuff like that. And he's a member of a guild. A bounty hunters guild. And we see, now then, Carl Weathers... I'll just scooch this across. Carl Weathers turns up as one of the guild members, handing out bounties. Cool as you like. I love me Carl Weathers. Obviously from the Rocky films and such, and Predator and all that kind of stuff. So big sort of 80s star for me as a kid growing up. So it's great to see him in this role, and he plays his character very nicely indeed. They banter about bounties and costs and type of money. And it's all great world building stuff. I felt sucked in and immersed in this world that they were currently creating. And then he gets tipped off that there is a sort of off-the-record bounty that he can pick up. So he heads off to the destination. You can see, actually, you've seen that other shot. They were actually taking off the carbonite. You can see the various carbonite. I'm covering up a couple. But they're taking out the carbonite people. So I like that. Yeah, it's a throwback to Han Solo in carbonite, but at the same time, it makes a lot of sense about how a bounty hunter would restrain a captive. It's just that Jabba the Hutt decided that he preferred to have Han in the carbonite as a trophy. I guess you get to do with them as you wish. See fit once they've been handed over. And again, great. Love the outfit. Love the outfit. So he gets tipped off. So just these lovely areas. They look so good. You know, it looks rustic. It looks used. It looks dirty. And lived in. And that's exactly what you want. It kind of Tatooine-esque. Mos Eisley-esque. Yeah, we're going to get these Star Wars comparisons. And I think we're going to get quite a few of those, considering is A, the aesthetic of Star Wars, and B, you do want to give people some of the familiar so that they can start to attach themselves to the product. You don't want to give too much unfamiliar to start with. You know, let a show breathe and then go in its own direction once it's established itself. So that's all great. Turns up at this at the person's address, and I loved this next bit. Loved it. Stormtroopers. Now, the great thing about these stormtroopers is their outfits were mucky and worn and disgusting, and this series happens after episode 6, Return of the Jedi. So the Empire has fallen. So these stormtroopers are clearly people looking for work. Ex-stormtroopers looking for work. And in this case, they've been hired by this guy for protection. Bodyguard, protection. And what was really awesome, and I kind of applauded it when they did it, is another guy enters the discussion. And it causes... and Pedro Pascal's Mandalorian is a very precise person. He likes to see what he can see. He doesn't like any unknown entities and any unknown quantities. So when somebody else just walks into the discussion, the guns come out. The guns come out, and I did like that. And then the stormtroopers were stormtroopers. They were kind of like, hold your fire, put your weapons down. And they sounded like they would in Star Wars, as if it was because they are clones. These guys are clones, I imagine. As if they would do this to anybody. You know, even when they're in the Empire, it was almost like a what's the phrase? A Pavlovian response to a critical situation. And I was just like, round of applause. This is really good. This is really clever. And I just loved the way that they'd done these things. And look at this. Look at him. Looking like a boss. Looking like a boss, and you got the trooper behind. There was some really great imagery. Again, in this first 20 minutes, some really great imagery. And yeah, I really liked it. So he picks up his bounty. He picks up his bounty, and he's got to go off to a planet to recover whatever it is. He doesn't know what it is. He just knows what the job is. So off he trots. Now this is where, after 20 odd minutes, things get a little bit wobbly. What he does, though, is he's given an Imperial ingot. An ingot which has been stamped by the Imperials as some sort of payment. But he takes it to this forge. And he actually has the ingot melted down and crafted into a shoulder pauldron. which he puts onto his right, our left as we look at it, pauldron, which sets the costume off rather nicely as well. And this lady is the Forge Master, although, again, nobody takes their helmets off. None of the Mandalorians take the helmets off. And even, actually, at one point, somebody says, is it true that Mandalorians never take their helmets off? As I've mentioned, I do think we will get a face reveal in the series, and I think his face will be normal. I think it will be just normal Pedro Pascal. I don't think there'll be any sort of alterations or anything like that. Again, some great little special effects as he's travelling to his next destination. And here we are, 22 minutes in. This is where the show kind of gets a little bit wobbly. So he arrives on the planet and starts to scout it. And it's great shots. Really good cinematography. Really good cinematography in this. Looks expensive. And that pauldron's looking really nice. Attached to his outfit now. And he uses the scope of the weapon to get the lay of the land. And he gets attacked by this creature. And then we have a very weird segment where somebody comes along and tranquilizes them. You can see the tranquilizing darts in a couple of them. And then the guy takes Pedro Pascal to his ranch, where he teaches him how to ride one of those creatures. And this goes on, and this goes on, and this goes on, and this ends up going on for, I don't know, nearly 8 minutes before he goes to what's going to be the final part of the episode, the area that the people are holding the cargo are situated. And all it really was is this guy says, I want to help you because as long as this cargo remains on the planet, we're going to get a constant stream of bounty hunters and fighting, and this is not what we need. We need to have these people gone so things can get back to normal around here. So the pacing really dipped here. Although this character was likable, it was a likable character, not an annoying character. I didn't understand why we needed to see 6 minutes of Pedro Pascal trying to ride one of these creatures. I don't know if it was trying to say that Pedro Pascal may be slightly force sensitive. He seemed to have a very calming effect. After a few failures on the animal, he did have a calming effect on it. So I think there might be trying to intimate or hint that Pedro Pascal has some sort of force power. Maybe not. So we arrive at Act 3. And Pedro Pascal's just done some, conversation. Now, one criticism. One criticism here. Look at the way that he has his hands. This is the way that Boba Fett stands. Okay? We get it. We get it. We don't need every Mandalorian to hold their hands the same. They can hold their hands in different ways. Imagine some fanboys go, oh, that's the way that Boba Fett does his hands. And that's the sort of thing we don't need. That's the kind of fan service we don't need. The outfits of Mandalorians look very similar in itself. The throwback to Boba Fett is right in front of you. You don't need to do the hand gestures. So that was just one small gripe. Just one small gripe. So anyway, he looks into the base and suddenly a bounty hunter droid comes along to try and take the bounty in itself. Pretty cool. This section is pretty cool. Clears out a load of the enemies. Pedro Pascal joins in. It's just like, hey, I'm here for it as well. Let's team up. We'll split the bounty. The bounty droid's like, okay, let's do that. Then there's a fair bit of fighting, and I don't know, it just didn't quite work. The pacing seemed really weird and off, and loads of people just seem to constantly come from every angle, and it doesn't look like this whole area has enough to house these amounts that just came out. And the robot's being very quippy. Sorry, he's off camera. There he is. The bounty droid's been very quippy. And it sort of lost a little bit of that great mystique that it built up in the first 22 minutes of it. This very stoic character was suddenly bantering one-liners with this droid, and it just didn't quite work for me. And anyway, once they eventually fight off all the I don't want to call them bad guys, because I don't even know if they're bad guys, especially after you see the cargo. This is the cargo, and it's a baby. You know, there's a life form in there, and the bounty hunter droid wants to kill it and take the reward, and Pascal wants to keep it and bring it in alive. So he ends up killing the bounty hunter droid because it wants to kill him. And then the big reveal at the end of the episode is this baby that's 50 years old is actually the same race as Yoda, which is really interesting. So Pedro Pascal sort of puts its finger out, and the little baby puts its finger out, and that's the end of the first episode. So all in all, for a first episode of a brand new series, this was very good. Very good indeed. They did some good world building. Pascal has kind of cemented himself already as a bit of a badass, but at the same time got some vulnerabilities, got taken off guard with the creatures, maybe slightly force sensitive, not too sure. We'll see how that kind of develops as the series goes on. No face reveal in the first episode, which I thoroughly enjoyed, and not copious amounts of dialogue again, which I rather enjoyed. Made him kind of come across as a badass a bit more. So apart from the second half suffering from some possible question marks as to why they did certain things or pacing issues, as an entity, excellent. Really excellent. I'm going to give this a 7.5 out of 10. And the reason why I don't give it any higher is because I do think this show's got room for growth. It's got room for growth, and I think this is a very, very solid first episode with a great first 20 minutes and then a little bit of a wobbly 20 minutes with a good ending. So I think 7.5 is fair enough for that. And I am looking forward to the second episode, and I am looking forward to seeing where this goes. And I quite like the baby reveal as the same race as Yoda. So who knows what trouble that may cause for our hero, our anti-hero, our protagonist. Let's just call him a protagonist for now. So yeah, next week I'll do episode 2. So I hope you enjoyed the vid. If you did, do give it a thumbs up, and also subscribe to the channel. Follow me on social media and Twitch for live streaming. Links there in the description box down below, and I'll be back with some more stuff very soon. You take care. Bye for now.